All right, man, let's go old school AFC East matchup here. Buffalo Bills at the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are favored by 3.5 here in Indy. Do the kids remember the AFC East Bills and Colts matchups?
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
No.
Buffalo's sitting here at 7-2. Colts are 4-5. Another week of Joe Flacco with Indianapolis, coming off of a Sunday night football game in which they scored 6 points offensively, 7 defensively. Did not find the end zone. Can they bounce back, Indy, their offense against Buffalo this week?
Yeah, obviously not going up against Flores this week, which should help. Yeah, I mean, I do think that they are. I don't think last week was necessarily a reflection that Joe Flacco stinks and that this was a bad decision to go to him versus Anthony Richardson. I think that was just Brian Flores and that Vikings defense got back on its horse, and the Colts couldn't get much done because of that. Like Buffalo's got a good defense. It's not like this is a complete other end of the spectrum where you're going up against a complete no-hoping unit, but I think they will be able to move the ball better. You know, they will have some offensive success, some output, and it will be a closer game in terms of the Colts having an offense.
I'm just seeing news coming through that Trevor Lawrence, it's not this game, but Trevor Lawrence might not play on Sunday.
Yeah.
Left shoulder. Is that new?
I mean, it's...
I knew he had a left shoulder, but...
Right.
Wow. All right. What game are we talking about here?
The Bills and the Colts.
Man, Bills... I've been getting a lot of questions about the Bills and just like the totality of how you feel about their season. They're at this point where you're trying to say, is this the year? Last few years, right? Are they capable of making the Super Bowl run? And they did a little reset on the roster and took some, moved on from some veterans, put some younger players in there. They reset the offense. Josh Allen, higher percentage of yards after the catch by far this year versus every other year. They've put the ball into the hands of the Dalton Kincaids, Khalil Shakirs of the world, Keon Coleman. They've added Amari Cooper. Is this enough? And what do you want to see from Buffalo to be, they're going to play Kansas City later in the year. What do you want to see for Buffalo in December heading into January to say, yeah, they can go compete with the Ravens, they can go compete with the Chiefs? I think they're in a good spot. I don't know if they're in a better spot than they've been previously.
Right.
But I think they're in a good spot. And I also think it's interesting that Josh Allen has the great stats. We've talked a lot about his turnover-worthy plays and interceptions, what have you. They've been winning overall without having to tap into Superman, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I think that bodes well.
It does. I guess at the moment, you could kind of fit them into the category of Miami or Dallas last year, where their wins have been generally against not great teams. Their losses have come against probably the two best teams they've played.
Buffalo and Houston.
Baltimore and Houston.
Baltimore and Houston, sorry.
So I think we'll find out more about the Bills team down the second half of the season than we did in the first half. Like, they look good. They're definitely good. But in the second half of the season, they play Kansas City. They play San Francisco. They're on the road against the Rams. They're on the road against the Lions. So I think we'll have a much better idea of how they do against genuinely good teams. But this week, they should win because they're better than the Colts.
I agree. They should. I will be interested to see if the Colts end up, when they start rethinking the Flacco thing, if they fall to 4-6.
Do you think they'll go back to Richardson within this season?
I do.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, their move to Flacco felt more definitive than, say, the Panthers going to Dalton.
Yes.
The Panthers one was like, Andy Dalton's our quarterback
right
now. But in the back of your mind, you were like, I think they want to do well by Bryce Young.
Well, they sat down Bryce Young because it was going so badly that they had no option. The Colts sat down Richardson for a very different reason. Like, they, I think, genuinely determined, I think it was sort of 50-50. 50% was you can't check yourself out of a game.
It was less than 50%, Sam. He's a 44%. It was a 44% issue.
44% was you can't check yourself out of a game. That's not that you can't do that. That doesn't fly. The other percentage was we genuinely think Flacco gives us a better shot, particularly next week against Brian Flores and the Vikings. So I don't think that was the same thing where it's like we can't throw Bryce Young back out there like this is a train wreck at the moment. They can throw Richardson back out there at any time, but I think they don't think he's the best option at the moment, which he probably isn't.
If they fall to 4-6, though, they lose this game.
Yeah. Like, at what point do you throw him back out there once the season is done and no longer
But I think because of they have to sit there logically and say if the majority of if 56% of the reason was because he opted out of the game and 44% of the reason was because his completion percentage is 44%, then you give him a couple weeks to kind of rehab his image in the locker room and earn the trust back from the team. But at some point, you got to say, the dude's got 10 career starts after barely even starting in college. What the heck did we expect? We invested in this guy. He's our quarterback for next year, heading into year 3 of his career. Do we really want to go back, reset this thing again? Who's our quarterback next year? Joe Flacco might be retired. Who's our quarterback next year? Like, Richardson's coming back within the next couple weeks, is my prediction. He'll be back. They have to see what they have in him. They have to give him reps to get better and give him an opportunity to, finish a game without quitting.
But this is the problem with this whole approach, right? Is that once you decided, okay, we need to sit him down, this is a mess. If you genuinely, like they were sort of making the point, we still have faith in him. There's still development to be done. He can still be our guy down the line. If you think that's true, the question becomes, okay, what is the actual development plan from here, right? Because obviously the second you bench the starting quarterback, you've deviated from whatever the plan used to be, right? That's nobody's plan, is that we'll start this guy and then, 15 games into his career or whatever, we're going to bench him again because it's not working. Like, that's nobody's actual plan. So you've gone off the reservation somewhere along the lines. From this point, what is the development plan to get him to where you want or expect him to be, a franchise quarterback that we can lean on going forward? And if you're planning that out in abstract terms, that once they sat him down 2 weeks ago or whatever, now draw for me the timeline of what his development is going to look like from this point on. It's not going to be he comes back in the lineup in 2 weeks' time. Like, that's not the plan either. So I don't like this idea of, like, we just start lurching from one to the other on a weekly basis depending on how the last game went. I'm
lurching. I'm ready to see Richardson again.
Like, that's not a coherent strategy, right? That's just.
I'm not trying to completely change my tune either, because I last week I was saying, hey, the Colts offense has looked better with Flacco.
Yeah.
They've worked, Josh Downs in the slot a lot more. They've spread the ball around, gotten their playmakers involved. But at some point, like last week was the closest he looked to old man Flacco, I thought.
Yeah.
And whereas last year and earlier this year, it's like, he's playing better than he did the last time he was, an extended starter. So see how long it lasts. Sorry. 3.5 though. Bills in Indy. Where are you going with this one?
I will go with the Bills.
Yeah, we're going to agree again here. I'll take the Bills. I think you're right. They'll have some more challenging games coming up soon, but they'll take care of business against the Colts, even on the road here. We're taking a lot of home favorites here. Road favorites here. That's always scary.
Yeah.
Harry's also going to take, all three of us are going to take the Bills here to cover the 3.5.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.